Welcome. I'm Kinetic Symphony. I hunt down and report on mysterious and weird true stories, from glitches to the paranormal. Case file number 361, written by itisntaphasemom. Who knows, maybe she became Wolverine. I fully understand that this is a dumb thing to freak out about, and honestly, I shouldn't worry about it. Maybe me and my husband didn't get enough sleep. Maybe it somehow healed fast. I don't know. But anyway, here's what happened. Today I went into work with my husband, as we both work at the same store. After a few minutes of walking around, I realized that my foot was tender between two of my toes. Since we have spiders where we live, I decided to check it out in case I was bitten, which happens more than I'd like to think about. I pulled my sock off and immediately noticed an 1.5 inch long cut starting between two of my toes and going down the top of my foot. We have a puppy, so no big deal, whatever. My husband happened to look over when I was doing this and mentioned that the puppy was a bit crazy last night, or something of that sort. It had a thick scab on it already, so that would make sense. I don't think about this for the rest of the day. It didn't bother me much and it wasn't a bite, so I didn't really care. Fast forward to when we both get home, probably 5 or 6 hours after the whole foot examination took place, and I'm getting ready for bed. I took my socks off, and as I did so, I noticed something. No cut, no scab, no redness, no evidence of any cut. I know this seems like no big deal, but this was a sizable cut I had. The scab had been extremely noticeable before, but now there was absolutely no sign of any injury. I even asked my husband, and he was just as freaked out as I was. He immediately confirmed that there was no way it could have completely disappeared that fast. If this helps his credibility at all, he was an EMT for a while. I just feel really strange about this because we both saw it and now there isn't any kind of redness or marks. I know this seems like an exaggeration or something, and it isn't even that big of a deal, but I genuinely think something unexplainable has happened. Case notes. So, spontaneous regeneration. This is a new one. I wonder if it is a glitch, or maybe you somehow possess enhanced healing powers. There are always anomalies in the human race. We have so much genetic variance. There are people who are much stronger than others, even at the same body mass. There are other people who are smarter. Is it that impossible that someone would have healing powers to this degree? Maybe. If it's not that, then quantum immortality is always a consideration. You don't have a cut in this reality because you switched over. Although if that is the case, what caused you to switch over? It sounds like it was just an ordinary day. Case file number 362, written by ltongs. When the universe pulls a switcheroo on your favorite knife. I have this one knife that I've had for probably 8 years. It's my favorite knife. I use it for everything and take good care of it. At the end of last week, I was washing the dishes, including said knife. I put it away in the place I always do and went to visit my parents for the weekend. I came back Saturday and my knife is gone. I looked everywhere. In my room, all of the cupboards, literally every place I could think of, even though I knew where I left it after washing. What's more disturbing, there is another knife that has miraculously appeared. I've never even seen it, never used it, and it's freaking useless. I live alone, and there is no possibility of someone living in my basement or attic, as I don't own either of those. It's so freaking weird. I want my knife back. Also, that's not the first incident of this kind in my life, but this time at least, I know for sure that I'm not going crazy. Case file number 363, written by Tangerinesally. A shadow forming into an instrument of war. This took place when I was 12, in the early 90s. I have no explanation for what I saw. My parents were invited to have coffee at the home of some friends. My sister, 11, and I came along. This couple had 2 children our age, whom we knew since we were babies. They had a finished basement that had a kitchen and a sitting area, so the grown-ups were having a fun conversation down there. Us kids got bored after a while. This was before computers, iPads, etc., and it was already dark outside. My sister, Dee, said, "Let's play hide and seek." Our friend Sarah had a younger sister who was 6, so we were trying to find something fun for her to do as well. Sarah started counting to 50 downstairs in the living room. My sister, Sarah's sister, and I headed upstairs towards the bedrooms, hoping to find a good hiding spot. We went into their parents' bedroom and hid behind the bed while we faced the door. We were planning to duck and hide ourselves when Sarah came up the stairs. The room was pitch dark except for the street light that was directly outside. The light casted a shadow on the wall in front of us. That's when I saw an unusual shadow on the wall. The shadow resembled a black pistol. I said to the two girls with me, "Do you see that weird shadow?" I looked around, but I couldn't find anything in that room that could make that shape. I walked up to it. The shadow started to slowly move backwards into an open closet. It was no longer a shadow, but now looked like a black pistol pointed at us, but moved backwards into the closet. I got the impression right away that it didn't want to be discovered and was trying to hide. I saw it move forcefully backwards into some clothes. When it did this, the clothes moved violently as this thing hid. I asked, "Did you see that?" And both girls whispered yes. I almost had the nerve to go in and move everything to find it, but suddenly got creeped out and ran downstairs. We didn't even care that Sarah never found us, but we announced that we didn't want to play anymore. We went from energetic kids to very quiet for the rest of the stay. We didn't say anything to anyone, but I told my parents a year after because it always bothered me. It felt evil and it had some intelligence. I've always wondered if that family ever saw it or if they had other experiences, but I've never heard anything about it. I don't know why we saw it, what it was doing there, and why it was shaped like a pistol. I was invited to their house when I was around 20. Sarah was getting married. Her mother wanted to show us the dress she bought for her wedding, but I couldn't bring myself to go back to that bedroom, so I stayed downstairs. Bonus file, written by ghjiiytre, of Prisons and Shadows. A few months ago, my uncle invited me to go to a well-known paranormal hotspot with him and his group. I've always been open-minded about the paranormal, as I've had other experiences with what I believe to be spirits or ghosts. The place in question is an old, out-of-use prison used to hold political prisoners, murderers, etc. Me and my uncle arrived first, and so he thought he would show me around. We walked down every wing, long dark hallways leading from the main foyer, all with prison cells on each side, of course. The least frightening experience was when I saw a dark figure standing there, and I looked at my uncle and looked back, and it was gone. This is when I realized my belief in the paranormal had been well placed. He then showed me to a room or cell. The reason I call it a room is because it was the most luxurious cell. It had comfortable pillows, a big soft mattress, and a bookcase to top it all off. The very bookcase which, when slid over, leads to the room the prisoner would be hanged in. The noose came from the ceiling and a large glass area. The floor came down and led to the coffin room. Before my uncle showed me what was behind the bookcase, I saw a huge white flash come from the cracks behind the bookshelf. I get chills as I'm writing this. After my uncle opened the bookcase, I saw a large black figure peek over his shoulder. This terrified me. It seemed normal to him. Nowhere in this prison had good lighting, so when your eyes adjust to the dark, you can really see silhouettes in the dark. Under the prison, there is a long, dark tunnel which leads to the old courthouses across the road. As an initiation, they made me walk to the end of the tunnel with all the lights off, knock on the rusty metal door at the end, and ask for, "Sir?" When I came within 5 feet of that door, I felt a horrible feeling, like something was waiting for me. I strongly hesitated, but I knocked on the door and asked for "Sir." As I walked briskly back to the group, I heard them all exclaim. They said something walked back with me, a dark figure. I didn't believe them until someone else did it, and I promise you, a large black figure came slowly from the wall and walked behind him. I thought because it was so dark, it was just another random person walking with them, until I remembered he walked down alone. Bonus file, written by Julia-Louis-Drypuss. You know, maybe this ghost is just hungry. So, my boyfriend and I moved into a new apartment about 2 months ago. At first, it was all sunshine and glitter, but as time goes on, more and more crap is popping off, and not in a good way. Whatever entity is here is ballsy and has become extremely active. For example, I was lying in bed alone, trying to take a nap, and the headboard started banging against the wall. Needless to say, I did not take a nap that afternoon. It's also always messing around in the kitchen. For example, moving pots and pans around to make noise. But today, I was in our bedroom and could hear pots and pans and silverware, etc. being thrown around. And when I finally had the nerve to look into the kitchen, there were pots, pans, plates, etc. everywhere, and all the cabinet doors were open, and there were snacks all over the counters too. and the sink water was running. So if anyone needs me, I'll be outside on my front porch waiting for my boyfriend to get home from work.